in my lane, just do my football drafts here and go along with my life. But I recently caught the bug here with these NBA playoff best ball contests on Underdog. If anyone played the football ones, very similar concept of that. You're trying to put the puzzle pieces together, trying to have enough ammo to get out of the first rounds, but also being able to field a full lineup in the finals. And I've just become obsessed with it. And so I said, all right, enough is enough guessing who these players are. I'm going to bring on some NBA thought leaders. So we got the Bad Bros, we got Mike Zakarian, John Boy Beats, we got maybe Andy joining us later, some other special guests. We're going to dive all into the dance contest on Underdog. Let's do it.
Oh, another Influencer 101 for the backward hats, bro. Rick!
Zach Ertz with no Tyler Algier bringback? Yikes.
You reached a round for correlation? That's a no-no. You ADP bros disgust me. How about you just live a little?
Handcuffing might actually be a way to get unique if the field's avoiding it.
The Wi-Fi at this resort is a disaster?
These fucking streamers don't have player takes. What if a piss boy draft is the room you need?
Oh!
Maybe, I wonder how many NBA drafts I'd need to do to feel qualified to make a best ball, a Hoops Guys intro for this. Are there enough inside jokes just in the Hoops world to pull that off?
I think I just want you doing one with the limited knowledge you have. I think that would be fine.
Yeah,
that would be good.
100%.
Yeah, just whatever we do have a running list, or at least I do, of the bits that go down in the at least on the Bad Bros side of things, because it's just so unhinged over there that there's an actual running list of bits, at least for the baseball side. There's plenty for hoops though. We could feed you some.
Well, that is the goal of today, is to get me caught up on all the terminology, all the players. All of you, I think, on this call have been on the receiving end of me asking very dumb and simple questions about NBA playoff best ball. But let's just first set the stage here. We got, of course, the Badge Bros, Numi, Nez, and John. We got Mike Zakarian from Team Hold. John Boy Beats holding it down as well. John, I think, did we do a NFL playoff best ball stream last year together?
Yes, we did.
Awesome. So had to get you in these streets. I know you are also in the NBA dailies and all that good stuff. So today we're going to do kind of a high level preview show. I'm basically doing the show that I would want to watch right now. And I'm just going to have a front row seat to that. So let's start here, John. Give people kind of the quick overview of the dance. And I do always think it's helpful if we use kind of like the football version to pull people along, because that was kind of what made it immediately accessible to me in the first place.
Yeah, when you say John, now I'm getting confused. I'm not accustomed to having two Johns.
Warner. I'll go Warner too.
Yeah, I think the biggest like macro level takeaway right now is when we build in football and we go with like the variance of touchdown scorer in the Super Bowl, and that'll be what sets you over the edge. In the hoop streets, I think we got to think a lot more about who's going to get us to the final, opposed to like how we're going to win in said final, because we gal brain ourselves so hard in the NFL streets, but basketball is just so much more projectable, both in terms of like volume and who scores, that I think we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice by replicating the patterns of what we do in football by like full team stacks and like, $5 or 4 nuggets on the same team. I think we're missing out on a lot of points, and we're going to end up seeing a lot of those teams that are built football style get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, Numi, I know that's something that you've been preaching. Like when you see these teams that are loading up on just one and they have the 4th guy, the 5th guy, you're sitting here saying to yourself, what does this guy do for this team? How is this guy going to score points? You strike me as team superstar only.
You may have watched a video or two. Yeah. Yeah, that I am definitely that way. Adding the ancillary pieces just for me isn't going to get the job done. You're going to need a lot of luck box to get out of the first round, and then basically hope that those ancillary pieces are the guys you need in the second round. It's tough for me to see that. And I'm basically stars, and I'll tack on an ancillary piece if it's a third or something like that, or if it's for the right fit, the right team, without going into player takes. But yeah, I'm definitely just basically get the best guys and try and build I don't think the roster is going to be like an NFL type thing where you're going to need to stack out these full teams. You just get your stars and be fine with getting one-offs and just a couple mini stacks and stuff like that. That's how I've been approaching it.
And Nez, maybe just for people who aren't familiar with this format or need a refresher on how the playoff formats work, do you want to explain that too? And maybe whatever specific quirks are unique to the NBA advancement relative to football?
Yeah, so with the NBA, we're dealing with 7 game series, and it starts with the qualifiers. And as you can see there, the caveat is excluding the play in. And if you're not familiar with the play in, I would definitely familiarize yourself with it because it opens the field up right now, currently, as we currently have it, with over half the league, by the way, is involved in these playoffs, including the play in, which we don't get points for the play in, but it does open your field as far as who you can select and potentially get into the playoffs. So we have the opening round 1, and then if it's 1 out of 6 to advance to the quarterfinals, and from there we're in semis. And what's interesting is that you could have a team, and it doesn't seem like there's a team that's like leaps and bounds above the field, but you can potentially have a team where, okay, the Bucks, first seed, everybody wants Milwaukee Bucks, they could sweep the first 2 rounds, and then now you're kind of hamstrung because there are teams where there's 7 game series all around, and they are accumulating more points in this round. So it's like you said, it's like a delicate balance. It's an art and a science to figure out, how do I get these teams in while still accumulating points and building the best team I have. It's definitely a fun puzzle, I would say.
Mike, are there any specific considerations or rule quirks you've been considering? Because one thing I've come to learn, and to the point of all of this too, is like, you can't just go macro team correlation and expect to get there. Because we've looked at the winner from last year too, where you had 5 players that were playing in the finals, and the rest were all one-offs. Have you been, what has been like your favorite structure to approach in these?
Honestly, the rules have changed, I feel like, every couple of weeks, but I think because of how insane the West is this year, and like there's not like Denver's the favorite, but no one's like scared of them. And then you look at like the 2 seeds, the Grizzlies, who no one was drafting because everybody was like, what the hell's going on with that team? Now they seem fine. The Kings are the 3 seed. Like, nobody believes in anybody in the West. So we're on the East side, it's like, yeah, the Bucks. Everybody kind of thinks the Bucks, it's going to run through them. So what's been kind of fun is if you do land with some like Milwaukee build, you can just kind of like pick and choose these little like 1 or 2 offs from teams from the West. And I know, Pete, like you and I were talking about with like Oklahoma City for at least 4 days seemed like insane value, right? Because it's like, dude, they actually might be a 6 seed, and then they lost last night, and now they're out of the play-in game. But like there's all, and like when you look at a team like OKC, till tomorrow. When you look at OKC, there's a guy like SGA who could be one of like the higher scorers throughout round 1, and he's going like 56th or whatever it is in the draft. So it feels like whatever angle seems really sharp right now will be garbage tomorrow. So this, I got nothing for you.
What about you, John? What has been kind of your approach to this contest? Do you have any specific angles you've enjoyed taking so far?
I mean, I think it's not really that much different than the NFL contest, where like understanding ADP is kind of king, right? And like being able to like go through the first 3 rounds and kind of set yourself up knowing like guys you're going to take in 7, 8, 9, or something like that, where you may need to stretch a little bit, but it's not really that big of a deal because you can kind of set yourself up early on and knowing that stuff's back there, right? So I think like the teams that I'm or the approaches that I'm been trying to take is like, how can I get weird a little bit at the beginning of the draft and then fill it in at the end of the draft and make it a viable finals lineup with like a lot of studs stacked early on? Because like when you think about and a lot of this has to do with just like if you're gonna luck box into pods and get to the end of the into the finals, right? And like what teams are still straggling in there, but there's going to be a lot of dead teams in the finals. But also like if the Bucks make the finals, there's going to be some Giannis, Drew, Brooke Lopez teams. Like there's just going to be a few of those, right? And so like how can I have maybe like 3 West players plus like Portis and like Middleton or something like that maybe maybe that's something where I take those guys 4th or 5th round and I was hammering only a West team early, and then that's still a viable finals team where maybe people aren't focusing on like that's how to attack the Bucks kind of thing. So like just trying to like figure out like, okay, here's how everybody's approaching this team. what's a way that I can still get action on this team, but do it in a little bit different way.
Would you guys say then, like, as far as kind of like structural rules, having 5 guys that can play in the finals is really the only mandatory thing, and then all other kind of permutations off of that can be viable in certain regard, or would anyone push back on that?
I think that's a great rule of thumb. I think that should be like your first priority. You don't have to get the 5 right away, of course. You can mix and match and then get your finals matchup later in the draft, but that should always be like a hard and fast principle that like you should be aiming for 5 to fill out a full lineup in the finals, no doubt.
I do think it's kind of it is kind of dependent on like, and this might be a hot take, but it's kind of dependent on like who the finals matchup's gonna be a little bit, and like who you
definitely
are kind of like targeting in that lineup. Because like to be honest, like a Bucks Suns finals matchup right now with like basically the top 8 or 9 guys going in the first 3 or 4 rounds, like it's going to be like there's going to be some, if that happens, there's probably not going to be that many teams that field full 5-man lineups, right? And so like just kind of like, or unless it's like a Josh Okogie or like
first one that
something
comes to
like
mind.
that, right? You know, where it's like a guy they took in the 10th, and like I don't know, like if I'm thinking through some of those, and it's like, well, maybe I'm okay just going a 4-man on this lineup and not wasting a pick on Josh Okogie when I could have like a Shea in the 10th or something like that to give me a little bit more first round equity. I wouldn't say that that's like a hard and fast thing, like only go for 4-mans, but like it's specific to where the ADPs are for some of the matchups. I do think like it'll be hard for just any teams to get there with 5.
I think that's really smart. I think that's really smart in terms of like you build out contrarian stacks after the fact, and those pieces that like I like thinking about it in the mindset of like, hey, maybe if everyone's building Suns every single time they get KD, or every time you get Giannis, you're building Bucks. Why don't you treat those as your one-offs and then build out like a 4-man contrarian of like the Cavs or something like that on the back end, because everybody's going to try and force 4 Suns every time they take KD in the first round, right?
Well, one of the things that I started doing recently that I think will prove to be dumb, but seems really sharp up top, is if I get Giannis first, I've been taking Jamal Murray in the second round, and then taking like some of because no one wants to draft the Nuggets after Jamal Murray. Like we're seeing Aaron Gordon drop, we're seeing Michael Porter Jr. drop. You can get like the Bruce Browns or KCPs like super late. And so still building out Bucks Nuggets, but just kind of skipping Jokic and Drew Holiday in those and trying to go like Giannis and maybe Brook Lopez in the third round or Portis later or something like that. Just because I think anybody who gets Giannis takes Drew Holiday with the second, and anybody who gets Jokic takes Jamal Murray with the second. I was like, if I can find a different avenue to still have those stacks towards the end, because I still think those are the 2 teams that are favored to get to the finals. It just makes it a little bit different.
This entire dynamic always puts my brain in a pretzel, because I've heard arguments on both sides of it where I agree. Like you see some combinations over and over. The KD guy is always taking Booker. The Embiid is almost always getting Harden. The 2 Mike just mentioned, there's certain pockets that just line up perfectly. And it's like, obviously it makes sense if not only this is the best player and you get that correlation. I remember our guy, Paul, I was inverted saying during the NFL ones that you also have to remember there is pod luck and pod variance, where it's not like every one of these teams that are constructed like this are all moving in tandem. Like these teams that have this, like you will wipe out a ton of people who have that set combo too. So that also reset it. And we were talking about that through the lens of like duping yourself, where it's not necessarily bad to have a bunch of the same kind of combos you like, just knowing that pod luck is going to wipe some of that out. And then the last thing on that point, and I've seen guys talking about it in the Discord in our NBA playoff best ball thread too, is like, people still go rogue. Badge bros go rogue in here with weird decisions. And so I do sometimes wonder how much of it is anecdotal that these combos are happening all of the time. And is it really something we have to go out of our way to like galaxy brain avoid?
Pete, that was a really nice way of saying like what I talked about for a few minutes is really fucking dumb.
No, I'm saying like I think it puts my mind in a pretzel, because I go through it every way, because you get naturally bored of the same starts too,
That's
right?
exactly, yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. Like I think your brain is like, oh, I've done this too many times. We're gonna do something different.
That should sound, in my opinion, like raise some red flags in your head. If you are like getting bored of drafting the same way every time, you are like you need to take a step back. And you need to think about, okay, what am I drafting a lot of? Because this is I mean, this is probably as open as the NBA playoffs have been in a while, like in a long time. There's going to be things that happen, and these finals aren't even in full form yet. And so like we can get into some micro takes later, but there's some teams that are rising in like a big way that are buried in ADP and could make runs because there's just truly like no actually like elite teams in the NBA this year. So I do think if you are in there and you're adhering to ADP and you're taking the top 3 teams like every single time, I think you need to like be real with yourself and understand that these are not locks.
Well, and I think too, like you don't even have to be that crazy when you're switching up like what you've been doing, right? So like if you've been taking Giannis plus Brick Lopez a lot, just like wait 2 or 3 rounds and take Portis instead, and then like just see what happens in between there, right? Like see what else you can do. And like I feel like that's how you can get some of the creative juices flowing, is like you just like skip a guy that you normally take, like do something else instead, and you're like, okay, well this actually works out well because now I have three of these or whatever, and then it kind of like shoots you off onto a new tangent of like, okay, this is like a new path that I can hammer for a couple drafts.
Okay.
Well, one other point that just is that, when this talk happened a lot with the NFL contest too, it would often be like so many other people already have this combo, yada, yada. I do think this contest right now is only 18% filled. And so like a large majority of this contest has yet to be drafted. And so something in the back of my head too is like, if I have conviction or I think that these are just combos I want, like if a team went on a run or started to look like the peak, like let me just use an example. Let's say all of a sudden the Sixers just go on an absolute tear and it's impossible to get both Embiid and Harden together. And the rest of the 80% of the drafters can never have access to that combo. And I've been loading up on it, so that's the only other wrinkle in this that I think needs to be considered.
That's like the equivalent of taking Niners in the first gauntlet. Yeah. Right? Because like those combos just weren't available anymore. And now you're way ahead of the field in that regard. So I do think that's a very smart way of thinking about it.
And Pete, you really got me itching to talk about the Lakers. I know we'll get there, but like that is like another team that you can really make the case for that is like going to catch steam. Like once the field realizes LeBron is about to get back on the court and they're playing good basketball without LeBron, it's going to be over. Like,
and they have the best. They already have the best player in the league in Austin Reeves too. Yeah, so
absolutely.
I mean, like,
you don't want to know my Reeves exposure. You don't.
But that was something I think Pete, you and I talked about. But I was looking at it. I was like, the Mavericks and the Lakers basically have the same odds to get out of the play-in right now. Like yes, the Lakers have to win 2 games, so no, it's not the same odds. But they both are in the same situation. And you had Luka going in like the first or second round and Kyrie right behind him. And then you could get AD in like round 4, whatever it was. And I know it's shifted a little bit since then. And I was like, okay, we have to start hammering LeBron and AD then, because if that is where Luka and Kyrie are going, it makes no sense that you're getting LeBron and AD that late.
Yeah. The West is absolutely like, I mean, I'm pretty sure separating like the 4th through the like 15th seed is like 3 games. So
wow.
the amount of like legit, like you said, a strategy on tonight will be totally flip-flop tomorrow when you go and look at the standings, and the play-in tournament is 4 different teams in 4 different areas and in 4 different seeds. Like that's how much is changing. As a Wolves fan, like we've been grasping onto, we're going to get that 6th spot. We're going to get that 6th spot. And then we've just been kind of sputtering and we had a little, it's been interesting just to watch the West. Like you said, it's so wide open, and there's still so much movement to go. Like with how the back end is just so close that getting your Lakers and getting your Thunder now before they go on the run is I think is a great point, because if the Lakers all of a sudden, I mean, for me, it's just looking at that and I look at the teams in the play-in too. I would rather have, like, who would you take in a play-in? It would be LeBron James in a 1-game scenario. Like, I'm going to take LeBron James 100% of the time. Like, so even if he's in the play-in, I still trust him getting out. And then if he moves up to that 6th spot, it's just, if the Lakers somehow move up to that 6th spot, you're looking at the Sacramento Kings. So it's just like start to playing these like scenarios and who they play. It's really interesting. So
and that's what's so nuts too, is like if you get LeBron where you're getting him right now and the Lakers fall out and they don't make it into the playoffs, you can still probably survive. If the Mavericks somehow fall out and you don't get Luka at any points from Luka, like you're toast. And I mean, the Mavericks still are probably going to get through, but I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility especially like Kyrie still got Q tags every night, or QAnon tags every night. I don't know. He's got something like he might not play. And it's not that far fetched to think like the Mavs fall out. It's wild to see.
So here's a question on that point. If we all agree there's a lot of uncertainty about who's going to sneak in to the playoffs, the question to me is like, how do we actually capitalize on this? Because, in the NFL streets, again, we were able to capitalize that with a team like the Jags. Were you able to load up on a lot of those guys? They helped you advance. But I was talking to Mike about the Thunder specifically, and I'm like, all right, SGA, that's an easy one-off to add at the end. But how far can you push it? Because are they still liable to get knocked out in the first round? Do you even want 2 players on the Thunder? Should I be tacking on Giddey with these builds? And so to me, how do we take advantage of this uncertainty other than taking the one-off or the superstars on these teams?
I would say, just because I've been like hammering these lately, is that you don't necessarily like if you want to take Giddey and you think that they have a shot to advance, like, and then you also have SGA, that's great. But you have teams with like high usage players that go almost undrafted. So I would say to that, if you do SGA, maybe tack on like Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Edwards in the 9th or 10th too, because they are there. And there's a good, like, these are players with superstars that can put up insane points that can really help you push through and advance. And it's the West specifically, I think, is what's really like the most enticing here when it comes to these exciting one-offs.
Yeah, the East is hard. I'm having a tough, like, if you don't get, because like if you get Tatum, you're not getting Jaylen Brown with it, and then you're like, okay, I guess I need Al Horford or Robert
Marcus
Williams.
Smart, like,
yeah,
Christ.
None of it feels great. And the Sixers, it's nice because you're like, okay, I can start with Embiid and Harden, and then sure, you can get Maxey later if you want, or Harris, but you don't have to get too weird after that. And then the Bucks too; those are obvious. But outside of that, it's weird. The East is weird. Sorry if I just froze up there.
You're good.
Well, John, yeah, how do you think about this? Because this is, or sorry, John Boy. Let's go, John Boy here. Because like Giddey's not getting drafted in the majority of these drafts, but then and I don't know what the actual odds are, but if you say the Lakers and the Thunder have equal chance of getting into the playoffs, LeBron and AD are getting drafted in all of these. Even D'Angelo Russell is getting taken in some. Like, if they have equal odds, like, wouldn't you rather have, tacking on Giddey from a uniqueness angle? Like, how do you think about that from that perspective?
Yeah, I feel like and it might just be a leak, but I feel like I'm too nervous of like loading up on 2 guys from a play-in team yet. Like, and maybe it's wrong, and maybe I should just be taking some stands, and like if I'm down to 8 players going in, like maybe it's just going to be dead. But I think it's better just to do like you can do it pretty well with the Bucks and the Celtics, where you maybe get like 4 Bucks or Celtics, and then through the early parts of the drafts, and then you just do like a Western playoff, whirly bird at the end, and just like grab like one of everybody, and you could end up with like Ant Edwards, SGA, like even somebody from the Warriors maybe even has dropped that far. Like, you could still end up with like some pretty good teams that you're not going to end up with all of them out of it, but maybe you're not going to also end up with 8, and like you're still going to be live. But I don't know, maybe it is better to just kind of take some stands on like 2 guys from the play-in teams, because like, I mean, when I was thinking about it, like I have no problem taking Luka and Kyrie on the same team. That's no different than taking SGA and Giddey on the same team, given their standings right now.
I think the only difference would be the closing line value. Like a guy like Giddey, like even if OKC like finds their way to like the 6th seed, like is his ADP really going to change enough for me to be like gaining any ground right now by making that back stack? Like, I'm basically making the same bet by just taking SGA, right? So I mean, I think the uniqueness angle is like later. Pete, I want to pose a question here because it's one that I've been thinking a lot about with this contest that's different than I equate it more to like season long football than the playoff football there is in terms of contingency value, because I've noticed so much in these daily contests where like as soon as minutes just get filled by somebody else, like take IQ for instance yesterday, like quickly all of a sudden he goes from being like a fringe 6th round pick and free to Brunson gets ruled out, and now he's like a 3rd round pick in these contests, right? What's the equivalent of that in the playoff contest? Is that a way to get unique by like making some contingency bet like that with your last pick? So you still could have 3 going to the finals, but hey, that one game from IQ because Brunson's a half go in the finals, or it's just one example. You could pick a million players like that, but just from a usage standpoint, I don't know, kind of like the backup running back theory. I don't know.
I feel like that just doesn't work in the series long. Easy one to think about is like Kadarius Toney, right? And like Chiefs, right? It's like hammer Kadarius Toney in the 9th, 10th round of these drafts because like who knows if he goes off in the Super Bowl. Where if you're taking a Javon Carter, for the Bucks, it's like, okay, yeah, he's had some huge ceiling games like this year or some one-offs, and like he could have a big game in the finals or something, but like for Javon Carter to probably matter, like Drew would probably need to get hurt, and then like Carter to actually like get you 4 to 6 games worth of points. And then if Drew gets hurt, it's like, are the Bucks even there? So like I don't know. I feel like that's what makes it hard. Like when you are starting to build something early and then you get sniped because you're like, well, shit. Like I only have 2 guys here, and like I'm kind of running out of options, and like I can't just fill in this fringe bro because like he's not going to do anything for me for like, he might do something for me in the finals, but like the odds I'm getting there are so low. And that's where I like am still trying to, I mean, I've got 50 drafts under my belt and I'm still like, on skates when I'm in this thing, like trying to figure out like what I'm doing in the 8th through 10th round after like the first couple rounds get blown up on my plan.
John, I think though, like, because I'm seeing Weisberg's comment in the chat, I think some of those guys are already getting drafted too, though. Like to your point, I think like the Malcolm Brogdons or Derek Whites, like I think those do serve as those guys if like Marcus Smart comes down. But like the super fringe guys who like aren't already in the playoff rotation, like I don't know if I'm trying to think, like I guess DeAnthony Melton might be someone who's not getting drafted at all, that he could be. I mean, he's in my small ball final team right now and has been very impactful because like Harden is going to miss a game and it's the playoffs. Harden loves to not show up for the playoffs. So maybe somebody like that. But I don't know how many examples there are. I mean, I guess like Phoenix or like campaign maybe, but I kind of agree with JBB that it might.
Oh yeah.
No, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's like, it's dependent on like what you've done with your draft so far, right? So like, if you took some of those Celtics, right, where you took like a Brogdon, or you maybe took like a Brogdon and a Horford, and then you've got yourself like 4 Celtics, well, then you like really need to hammer some studs at the end, right? Because you just wasted like, the 6th and 7th round on kind of some fringier guys that, you're really banking to get to the finals. So then you can't like also take a swing on Kevin Huerter or something, right? Because it's like now your team's just like really thin to get there. And like, yeah, they could have 7 guys if it's Kings Celtics, but like getting out of the first is going to be tough. But then, if you were able to like really load up on some studs early, like I've done a couple drafts where I was able to get Sabonis and Fox early, and then I just kind of hammered like East studs, and then like I just did Herter and Murray in the 9th and 10th, and it's like, well, I've got 8 like studs, and these are the 2 fringe guys that now help me with some wing depth. And like whatever, if the Kings get there, I got 4 guys that who knows what's going to happen. So I don't know. I think it is a little bit dependent on like if you're going to take those swings on the fringier guys, you got to make sure like you don't already have some other fringy guys from like the better teams that you were thinking about.
What are your guys' thoughts? I feel like there's a point in the drafts where, I don't know, through 4 to 5 rounds, I feel like every click feels comfy. You can say, oh, I'm either getting a couple from this team or I'm going to get someone from the other conference. Like it's pretty easy. And then there always comes that moment, probably in like the 5th or 6th round, where you're like, I have to really scroll down to kind of continue building out the playoff scenarios of the teams that I want to go in on, or I'm really just starting to grab, one-offs, early in that range. I guess the question I'm trying to pose is, how efficient do you think the ADP is, and how much are you sacrificing when you deviate even say like 15 spots off of ADP in the 5th round?
I don't think ADP is very efficient right now at all.
Okay.
I think it's very correlated to people just like panic stacking. And at this point, it kind of makes it like not efficient to take at this juncture these first round team, these first seed teams. In my opinion, like I think you're much better served getting a little weird at this point, because you can build some monster teams. Doing kind of what John so I forget who said it, but like treating Giannis as a one-off or KD as a one-off, and then like stacking and then like getting a full team stack of like their high usage guys after that. I think at this point, that's what like makes the most sense. But it for me, like for my money, I don't think ADP is like very efficient at this point.
This is the spot I think I was almost specifically thinking about. You see Desmond Bain in here, so you have one person from the West, but you'll have this stretch of like 13 picks all from the East. And sometimes I'm like, I'm already good with my East, position here. But like the ADP value hound in me, feels bad, like scrolling all the way down, like 20 picks to make your next guy. So that's why I was just trying to suss out like how much you're actually sacrificing projected points wise.
I've got a question on that, and I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts, because like sometimes you get into that same position when you're like light on a position group, and a lot of times it ends up being wing. I think for this like year, like wing is just so light. And like if you're going into the 6th round with like no wings, are you like scrolling down, or are you like, screw it, I'll just end the draft with 2 wings and have like 4 bigs or something? Because I feel like traditionally everybody wants like more guards and wings and then only a couple bigs. But like it just seems like the wing depth is so small this year that maybe it is just you're going to be fine getting by with a couple wings and like more bigs or something.
My get out of jail free card for those builds was just to pound both Clippers. Just pound both Clippers, because if you don't start with Celtics, you're light at wing instantly, right? And then I would just pound both Clippers in that like middle range when their ADPs were way more suppressed. And now that they've pushed up even, it's kind of like reach on LeBron, maybe question mark. And then that's kind of it.
Paul George is healthy.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Right. And then you find yourself being like, okay, I guess I'm taking Aaron Gordon here or Clay. Like, no, none of that feels good. I found myself landing on Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
Way more often than I want to. But like, I know he'll perform really well in that first round, but that does feel like, okay, good. My best or second best wing is going to get 6 games max probably. And then I'm toast.
Do you guys think about, as far as like the amount of teams that realistically can make it to the finals, and understanding there just isn't going to be as much variance as like in the NFL where a team could just sun run their way, to the finals? Like, do you guys let that impact your drafting of like, I'm not going to play for a finals team from the East that's not the Bucks, the Celtics, or the Sixers? Like, I just don't believe any of those other teams can get there. Do you guys let some of those macro playoff takes inform that decision? Or if it's like, fuck it, Cleveland's a value, I'm just going to load up on that, and in this scenario, the Cavs make it to the finals?
Yeah, exactly that for me. Yeah, I've done. I mean, I think I have like 4 or 5 Cleveland, 4 or 5 Knicks. Like for me, it's I don't care. Like I totally get the odds. Like once I start building out this portfolio larger, I'm probably gonna not continue to go heavy on them. I am, but like right now with the value that I was getting early on, I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna, if I'm going to build for the East, and I'm just going to say this is what happens. Like we all know like the craziness that can happen. Like we all know, just because these the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics are the favorites, one injury away from happening. I mean, just the game of basketball. When it comes to that, the Cavs and the Knicks have been teams for me in the East that I've been perfectly fine. I have a few with the Heat. Like you said, it doesn't make me excited.
Yeah.
It's the same scenario where it's like, oh, they're just playing for a nice first round points. But I mean, people go to like, oh, you trust the Celtics or you trust the Cavs? I'm like, no, not really. But this is the best team I could build in that draft. So that's what I kind of rolled with. You know what I mean? Like, so
I've been sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, though, the thing about the Cavs that I really like is they'll slow the game down, play to their tempo, and they have bigs that can bash with anybody. So not only when you're building a roster that can fill like some okay positional designations, they got no wings that you can draft basically, which is kind of like unfortunate. But if you plan ahead for that, I think in like terms of real basketball, I think they can kind of like bang and hang with anybody in some gross low scoring, like pick them up at half court style basketball games. Right. And I think that plays well in the playoffs. Whether it comes to fruition or not, I don't know, but I'm pretty in on Cleveland right now, to be honest.
Yeah, and I like that they got dudes they can throw at Giannis who they would get in the second round if they get past the first. I mean, no one can really stop Giannis, but at least slow him down a little. I've been doing a lot of 2-man stacks with stuff like that. Like I've been doing Jimmy and Bam, or grabbing one of the guards from Cleveland with one of the bigs from Cleveland, or same thing with like Brunson and Randall. I've been doing a lot more 2-mans, where last year I did a lot of like 3 and 4s. And this year I try to have like one team where I'm like, okay, this is my finals team. And then let's just throw a bunch of little 2-mans all over the place to see if we can get there.
Yeah, I think I like that from a build standpoint, I've been doing like 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, like something like that. And then I've been taking a lot of like huge dart ones in the last round, like Ant, like Trey, like stuff like that, where it's like, hey, maybe they lose, but they put up 50 burgers that push you through kind of deal.
Yeah, my most popular build has been like get that 3 stack and then have basically a team from the same conference that just has raw points to push. Maybe if you have a ancillary piece on that, and then it's just another 2 stacks on there basically, and a 1 or whatever it is out there just to get points, and hope that you can give yourself outs in that finals matchup. Like if I can get 5, like the baseline for me again is at 5. If I can get 5 there, I feel pretty good, and then if I can sneak one in. If I do another team that happens to have 4, or I have 2, 3 threes, and I get lucky, and those are the teams that meet, like I'll take that. Like at the pot, like it's going to be crazy. Like you said, the pod luck and the variance that comes into this when you have a super team that misses out by 1.3 points just because you didn't have the one-off that you absolutely needed.
And I would say too, one nice thing about when you are getting, say, that third stack or third player on a team that you are hoping goes to the finals is, I would say, outside of the Bucks and maybe the Celtics, who people will just kind of continue to draft no matter what. Like if you get the first 2 guys, the studs, if you get Jamal Murray and Jokic, if you get Embiid and Harden, even Booker and KD, you can get really nice discounts on that third player, because a lot of times people don't want to take Chris Paul as their first sons. And that's like, I was actually talking about this on Best Ball Breakfast, as far as like when you have Higgins and Chase, like just wait, because no one else wants to take Burrow. So that'd be the one thing too, is like exhibiting patience when you have that and seeing, can you sneak in an extra stud there, just knowing a lot of times the room doesn't want to take your guy.
Yeah, and then you have outs too. You're just pushing. You're just hoping to get that guy, that third stack on there. And if they snipe them, what are they adding to that team? And you have other fallback options. So that's been the way I'd like to do it too. Is once you get those first 2, just kind of basically fill out with raw points from guys, and then hopefully you just get guys at the top of the queue that no one wanted to click that you just add onto your stack. So
are you guys pretty anti 4-man from a team?
I think if you're going to do 4-man, it's kind of how you stated, which is like Bucks and Suns, Celtics, Suns, like with the 2 top teams. I think if or if you like luck into a 4-man team where like you actually have a 5-man finals, but you double stacked a couple ancillary teams, and now you are sitting with the 4-man final, that keeps you live for like a few $1,000s, no doubt. But I don't think it would make sense if you have a thought like, okay, I want Kings and I want Cavs. Like, why would you only do 4 if you are like very much like dead set on that being a finals?
So sorry, what I meant there was are you guys against doing 4 from one team?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not.
No, that's fine, because I talked about that earlier. But because I know a popular way to do it is like, try to get the heavy 3 and then pair it up with 2s. But like, what about 4 from one team and then a bunch of more 1s or whatever?
So I would mention, I keep bringing up the Lakers because I think that like now is the time to get the Lakers, because I think they're playing really well and LeBron's about to come back. I've been getting 4 Lakers because it's easy to do LeBron, AD, there's wing and big, and then D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, and there's 4. And then from there, it's just like you can get a really good East team with that, because AD doesn't go until pick like 28. Like you can really build monster Laker teams, and this is I'm very confident it's going to be the only time you can do that.
I mean, if I'm looking here, and I'd be willing to do it, like it depending if I can get the tops. I mean, I would do it with the Bucks, Celtics. Grizz, I can name off those guys getting 4 to get 2 bigs. Like Nuggets, I'm just fine with getting Murray, adding on Gordon and Porter. Like those guys can definitely have their blow up games and get there. They get there in different ways too, which I really like. Gordon can just get you there in stocks, especially with this scoring. Like the Warriors, I'm perfectly fine with getting 4 Warriors. I will say though, real quick, maybe just to like quick rebuttal there with the Bucks. If you get 4 Bucks and you're getting 4 good Bucks, it's a lot of draft capital, because you're it's almost like 4 out of your first 5 picks. Well, that's a caveat too with tagging on Pete's, is like it really comes into the draft. If I can get 2 Bucks and then push some Bucks where no one really wants to take them, like there has been a couple where all of a sudden you can sneak a buck or 2, like a good round pass value, 2 rounds pass value, and get someone else in there. That's where more advantageous to do that. Gotcha. I agree. Getting the 4 capital and the 4 Bucks, pretty gross, especially with everyone kind of moving up and the ADPs not being the Wild West that they were. So yeah, it really, like, obviously it depends. The top teams, I'm going to try and push those ancillary pieces to the middle rounds. But I mean, I just to answer that, I'm perfectly fine with getting 4. I guess my most common build is that 3. I do have a good amount of 4 in there. I don't know percentage wise.
The decision point is like the. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was going to go into one quick tangent somewhere else first. Go ahead.
Oh no, so I just think a decision point is like basically, and like Nimi was saying, it's draft specific. It's like, do you hammer the one-off studs late, or do you maybe get like a fringe guy that could fill in as like a third or a fourth? But it's totally dependent on like what you did on your team overall. And then I think too, like the piece that I find myself trying to think through more and more is like, okay, what is, and it's kind of hard to figure out because ADPs are still swinging quite a bit. It's like, okay, if my team of like 3 plus this player is in the finals, like, is there any other finals teams that are 5-man that are better than this? Or like, is a Pat Connaughton like good enough to get me over the edge, right? Or like, like that kind of thing. Like, it's interesting when you think about it, because there's quite a few teams where like the top 5, or like there's quite a few combinations where like the top 5 players in the finals go in like the first 5 rounds basically, right? So unless you're like perfectly hitting all that, then you like get to the end and you're like, okay, there may not be a lot of like heavy favorite 5-man teams in this situation. And so I'm okay like throwing in a 10th round guy as a fit, like as a 4th stack on the team or whatever, right, to just give me 5 in the finals. Even if he's just like not a guy that would make you too stoked, as long as you hammered some studs in like 7, 8, 9 round, right? And you have some firepower to get you out of round 1. Because that's the part I think that's the most interesting to think about, is like, what do the finals look like in this matchup,
Want to do something real quick. I try to do this on streams as a reminder, because sometimes people have a hard time finding these things. But I want to show you guys in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, we do have a thread here for NBA playoff best ball. So if you go under the Badge Bros, you can always find the threads by clicking up here. We do have the NBA playoff best ball thread if you guys want to continue to talk about strategy. This is a great place to do that. Maybe before we start hopping in some contests, and not to put you guys on the spot too much, but maybe we could go around the horn and you could just say like either your favorite team to draft, maybe your favorite ADP, maybe your favorite combo. It could be like an overall strategy thing, really doesn't matter, but just kind of maybe one of your favorite angles in the contest right now. Why don't we start with Zakarian?
It's starting to even itself out a little bit, but for a while it was the Kings. I was going after the King. Like Sabonis and Fox is so much of that usage on that team, and it's like, oh, I can get 2 of those guys, and if they win a couple of rounds, that's like most of it. And then if you want to tag on Herter at the end, you can do it. But I was going to give you a second answer, and I realized 4 other people have to give answers, so I'm just going to stick.
Let it go. Go for it. Let it fly.
I think, well, now the Grizzlies are my new Kings. I'm racking up the Grizzlies now because everyone's scared about Ja, both on and off the court. And so his ADP dropped, and I think people forget that they're still really good. So I'm racking up some Grizzly stacks now.
All right, Numi, let's get the alpha.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Warriors. It's just the Golden State. I go odds, go whatever. We know what the Golden State Warriors. They're a team that's done it. They're a team that's won. I mean, we're talking about dynasty, if you want to call them that or not. It's probably contingent on the Andrew Wiggins situation, and if he comes back, that's definitely being a big boost. I think if any team is there to fill in for someone and has guys that can kind of withhold that, it's the Golden State Warriors, besides the Grizzlies and basically holding it down without Ja Morant. Like the Warriors can put someone in there and they just be like, you need to do what you need to do. We have Steph, Clay, Draymond, the boys that have done it. I'm also just putting that in, is if they face the Kings in the first round, that's bliss, because I'm a big old, I think they're pretenders. I do not believe in the Kings whatsoever. I think they are the easiest matchup for anyone to face in the playoffs. I don't think they are a playoff team whatsoever. They're regular season cuties. But,
Mike's right here, man.
I just don't think, like, I would take play-in teams over these guys in a series. I really would. Sabonis is just not a guy you want in the paint for 7 games. I'm sorry. You can do it offensively, not defensively. But the Warriors, sorry, long tangent. Let me soak up the Warriors.
Love it. Some fire there. John Boy, what about you?
I'm gonna go a little spicy here. I've been taking a lot of Brooklyn Nets in the 9th and 10th round. I just go Bridges, Claxton, Bridges, Dinwiddie, Claxton. I just fire off a couple 2-mans in the 9th and 10th round.
Man, they looked good last night, and then they folded.
They did. That was a big L too.
I know.
So explain that for.
It's a little sexy.
So John, when you're doing that, is it because you think they could be live to win a first round, or just that they could accumulate enough points, like pushing a team to 6-7 games, that it would help you advance?
I mean, I think the thing for me is, like, when you get to that point of the draft, it's like it's pretty hard to, like, be able to just bring in, like, a fresh team and get, like, 2 players quickly, you know? And so, like, sometimes your draft just, like, falls apart and you're like, all right, I need to, like, bolster up a little bit of a East here. And, like, I'm not thinking the Nets are going to make the, you know, the finals or anything, but, like, maybe they give it a run for 7 games, right? And like, that's an interesting little correlation thing is, right, is like just like series length correlation, right? Is like just having 2 guys that are going to play 7 games in round 1 is great. And not necessarily even need to win it. And like, if they get into round 2, it's just gravy. And so, like, I don't know. It's just like no Nets they were the 6th seed for a while. I think maybe they're the 7th seed now or something. So maybe they're back into the play-in. But I mean, if they're able to hold on to that 6th seed and you get a guaranteed playoff series out of them, I mean, being able to get like 2 of the top 3 players on their team in the 9th and 10th round, I think is pretty fun.
I like that one because I'm constantly needing, like, I'm like, who's the team that could sneak in, or who could take a team, you know, to 6-7 games. So I like the Nets call there.
These are your Jags, Pete.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
By Jags in this sense means just a guy is. All right. What about you, Warner?
I like the Clippers wings to fill out the void at wing, the lack of wing depth. And then I really like the Cavs 4-mans. Pairing those 2 Clippers wings paired with the Cavs 4-man, and then just rounding it out with one-offs feels really nice to me. Trey in the last, but I'm really happy that John brought up the point about the series correlation, because that's my wheels were turning when Numi was talking about having them from the same conference and stuff like that, because it's very different than the football stuff where we talk about, hey, we break down the playoff tree and hey, we don't want Dallas because they might play San Francisco and we can't have that correlation and stuff. It's kind of the opposite with the hoop stuff. And it's something that I'd like to kind of deep dive that I hadn't really given much thought up until this show, and just kind of like what we could do with like Newbie just brought up Kings versus Warriors. Man, that is, if that game was on the slate today, we would have 4 guys going in the top 10 because it's such a pace up spot. There's no defense. There's no whatever. If you end up with that series and you have 2 and 2 on each side, that could push through like 4 Celtics on the other side. And you can get your Brogdon, your Time Lord. You can get those guys pushed through with a series like that. So as soon as we start seeing some matchups, I think there's going to be some real sicko shit we can do with that.
All right, Nez, before we hop into drafts, let's get your favorite player or teams to draft right now.
Yeah, so I like getting a little exploitative and starting as every draft that I can with the Sixers stack. So I like getting Embiid as early as I can, and then cycling in Grizzlies. Their Grizzlies are really easy to get their top usage guys. Cycling in Kings, and then cycling in Lakers, like I stated earlier. I just think, and part of that is because, like John said, like no one plays defense, and he was just citing one matchup with Kings and Warriors. No one in the West plays defense. So when you draft Sixers and you draft, let's say, Grizzlies, that's my favorite pairing to draft right now, you have a lack of wings outside of Tobias Harris. However, there's a lot of wings in the West that are good that you can then use to help get you through, because nobody's playing defense on the West. So you can get your Anthony Edwards, you can get your if you think Paul George is going to come back, which I think is really risky to do right now, or LeBron. There's a plethora of wings in the West that you can get to help accumulate points for that lack of solid wing on Grizzlies and Sixers.
And you guys were mentioning earlier, like, what do you win when you win, like the closing line value on being right on some of these guys? Like, if there's more clarity on the Lakers, I mean, I'm looking at LeBron and Anthony Davis's ADP right now, 28.7 and 34.2. I mean, if you guaranteed people that they were going to be in the playoffs, like, wouldn't those guys be going like a round and a half earlier than they are right now?
They have the seventh
More.
best future odds
More, way higher.
right now.
way higher.
Yeah.
Right now, they have
Okay.
the seventh best future odds, and the ADP doesn't reflect that. So if you want to draft 10 Lakers teams, that's $100. Then, and like, let's say what do you win when you win? Well, you win $100,000. And then if you put $100 on a Lakers future, you win $1,000. Like, I'm just saying, like, the ADP market, it does not match up.
God, I can't believe I've just been talking to Lakers stacks. But
I'm sorry, man.
I was doing it earlier with AD and LeBron.
Looking for something to do with $100.
Yeah. It's only 100 for 100,000. Yeah,
Light that shit on fire, Mike.
All right, we're gonna hop into some drafts now. Put some of these ideas in action. John Boy, I know you got to run, but I appreciate you swinging by, wearing a beautiful polo, and we'll do it again soon.
Good, dude.
Cheers, boys. See you in the hoops chat.
See you,
All right,
John.
peace.
See you, John.
Also, speaking of hoops chat, shout out to our guy Crutches. I know he's in the chat. What, back-to-back nights in the dailies up top?
Solo ship.
Yeah.
Dude. This guy, it just proves that your diet does not have any correlation on how well you do at NBA dailies.
Or with weight loss, apparently. This guy eats like shit, and all I see is these sick workout videos and him losing weight. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
apparently it just is calories in, calories burnt.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of the McDonald's app myself, and I split a first the other day, so I think maybe you guys need to get in there on the BOGO double cheeseburger.
Dude, the McDonald's app goes hard.
You cannot find a better calorie per dollar bang for your buck than the McDonald's app. I mean, it's just a
$2 breakfast sandwiches every morning, man. It's unbeatable.
I mean,
I think I saw it today though. He mixed it up. I'm pretty sure he was at Costco or Sam's Club with
something weird.
With that. Yeah.
when you win
hot dog.
back to back, you can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
somewhere
you
where
can
they're serving up Pepsi. I mean, that's different. That's a little dangerous.
All right, we snap filled here in our first dance draft. You know, we'll draft this one collectively for future ones. If you guys want to try to hop in on your own accounts or whatever, you are more than welcome to. But we will see what we can do here from the 1-5, which I don't know. I would say this is like maybe not one of my least favorite spots to draft from. And I do really, if you're just on autopilot here, you'll draft Kevin Durant and Devin Booker together like almost every time.
Yep.
What are you guys doing with Jaylen Brown?
He's tricky.
I rarely build him out by himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll never take him as that like one-off from these front ends here. So if I do take him, then I kind of like, I'm like, now I got to mix in two Celtics.
Yeah.
I have done that. That's
okay.
what I do some of these where I think people are forced in their mind. And I don't say people, I think the same thing. And you guys are always, when I start thinking the same thing, I think like I'm sharp and I'm like, oh, the market thinking the same thing. So I try and reverse engineer that. I'm like, well, what if just a one-off Jaylen Brown and taking a couple of the one-off guys in like these first couple, if you're not going to get these top tier stacks, and then filling out the big stack. So I mean, you know that I've sent you like 4 naked Embiid teams because I've been sniped on Harden, and I'm like, I'll push it, and then I'll get sniped on Tobias Harris. I'm like, I'm not taking Tobias Harris in these rounds. No, I will push it. And then you get sniped. I'm like, well, looks like it's a naked Embiid. So I mean, I'm a proponent of it. It's not my favorite thing to do, but just getting weird and thinking of scenarios like if the Celtics don't make it and having we're on the clock, but 3 of the top teams in the East have the highest finals projections, like I think it's viable kind of. But
how close are Kevin Durant and Brown for you guys, just in a vacuum, or is there a big tier break?
Tier break for me.
Tier break, yeah.
They'll be 6 picks apart in a daily.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Good. To know.
Kevin Durant, if healthy, like fully healthy, and I guess now he's on teams with all these stars. But like, if there's no star, even with a star, he's top 6 in a daily. Booker and anyone's out, he's pushing for the number 1 pick at some points. Like,
it is kind of wild, like how many lineups could be toast if KD's not good to go for the first round. And I mean, that's a real possibility. And
I know.
And he hasn't slid on that news in the way other players have slid with a little injury uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, the betting markets seem to think that he'll be back
that-
soonish, and the Nets are playing bad basketball. Like they're not playing good basketball. Like it's like they actually need to start winning games here, or they could end up like they could easily find themselves in the play-in. They're like 2.5 games out of the play-in.
It's crazy.
So if you guys do say get weird here and not do the conventional Booker pairing, is it like a Harden or Drew and playing a opposite conference guard?
I think Harden would be where people's minds go. I think Steph makes a lot of sense too. And just being like, Katie's our one-off in the West, and we build out Warriors. It's gal brain.
well,
You know, we are here to stress test some ideas, so let's do it.
Yeah, I thought I could twist your arm.
what is kind of nuts too, with this Paul George injury, I think the Warriors are like a half game or a game behind the Clippers for the 5 seed, and I feel like there's a real good chance we get Suns Warriors in the first round.
Yeah,
That would be
Yeah.
crazy.
it trying to like to play it off. That's why I'm trying to do the hopium and hoping that they do somehow hold out and get Kings. But there's the scenarios that you play and then looking, and then I all of a sudden I went on a schedule hunt and seeing how many games do they play each other and all this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like tonight, it's a big game in the play-in tournament because we have Lakers and Thunder. We don't know if SGA's playing. He said I might play. What that means nothing because we don't believe you at all, and we don't believe the Thunder. So, there's just a big like that. That's where it's like, are the Thunder actually just straight up? We don't care if we actually make the play in. Like if we do, we do. If we do, if we don't, we don't. Like because we're gonna find it tonight if SGA gets ruled out for injury management.
I'll be so pissed.
Well, I think that's a fun thought exercise too. Kind of knew me of, I talk a lot about, and this will come into impact more when the tournaments have been opened a lot longer, but getting natural diversification, as far as like, the week 17 correlation was a way to push yourself outside of the comfort zone. Like if you play different NBA playoff scenarios, that at least will naturally get you on different builds. You're like, if these two teams play each other, I would actually like to draft it that way. I don't know. That's kind of just a fun way to get out of it. Anyone have suggestions here of what you'd like to do?
CP3?
Yeah.
Just lock up CP3 here.
So now Steph Curry's the one off.
Yeah, I
of KD.
guess. Yeah.
You did this, John. So
I did do
You
this.
got us. I mean,
I
you're the
did
one
do
that told
this.
us to take
I mean,
Steph
if you want to
Curry.
go gal brain, technically neither of them. I mean, we could stack up Steph with another wing, and then all of a sudden
that's a
you're
good point.
doing something in the East, a la carte John. You know what I mean? Like that fits up this team pretty nice to fill out some bigs, and like there's a lot of different things that you can start doing. It just becomes like, how likely is this of happening? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I would have said is whoever we wanted. In addition, I feel like we could have taken first, knowing that the Biff Tannen's probably not going to take a one-off CP3.
Yeah,
That's true.
True. Yeah.
well, here we are.
We
Well,
go get some
yeah.
Cavs.
We go
So I was
I was
Cavs
gonna
on
say
the
Cavs
East.
or Knicks, yeah, but I believe more on the Cavs.
Yeah.
So Mitchell, the pick.
Because
Yeah.
Mobley falls too far in these.
Yeah.
Which
N-
makes
now,
zero
sorry, I forgot
sense.
we're on stream. So that's
And Clay's
toast, but-
Clay's a wing too.
Yes. Yeah.
So we can fill out. I mean, in theory, Clay doesn't go. Clay comes back, and you can fill out. I mean, maybe it's some combination of like Garland and someone goes, but we have Jared Allen to fall back on as a big, and then we got Clay, and then we'll probably build out one-offs or two-mans. Yeah.
We haven't talked a lot about just like positional balance and distribution. Obviously, for I guess we probably should have mentioned it earlier, but you start one guard, one big, one wing, 2 flex, and then 5 bench. Do you guys have any kind of positional thresholds of like? Obviously, it's easier to get guards, and you can sometimes end up with those builds where you might even have 5 guards. Are you willing to do solo elite, like an Embiid or Jokic at big, or like how are you guys thinking about positional requirements?
I've been doing that with wing a little bit more. Like I hope I get one of those stud wings that I think can make a finals run, and then just kind of cherry pick some of the wings late. Because I think the bigs can all score. I mean, like you look even at just like last night's dailies, right? Like Mobley had a monster game because he gets a bunch of stocks. Jaren Jackson Jr. is another one. Like there's just a ton of bigs that I think can outscore a lot of the wings that we're seeing here, especially with the Paul George injury. Like that, taking Paul George out, really hurts the wing depth.
Yeah, it's people. I see a lot of people drafting like it's not 1-1-1-2 flex. Like I feel like people think it's 2-2-1. And it's like you have to like the only one big scores. It's like
they've got best ball brain.
Like there's plenty of teams I'm out there where I have 4 bigs, and I'm like, I feel because you can have 3 of them in your lineup. It's like, and they're all like you said, if it's a Jaren Jackson, Mobley, and then you're sitting there with a Jokic or Embiid type, like I'm just fine with that. Like they're all should slot in just fine.
So what is the Paul George thing? Is he like done for the year?
Well, thankfully, his major knee ligaments are intact, so that was in question. And I thought I saw 3 to 4 weeks, which like that's the playoffs. That's
I think they said
round of playoffs.
Reevaluated in 2 to 3, so like that doesn't even mean
that's not bullish,
right?
I'm going to go ahead and take Clay for us. So our team so far, we have Steph, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. So 2 Phoenix, 2 Golden State, and Donovan Mitchell.
I would scroll down, in my opinion, and take Mobley.
Take Mobley here. Yeah, I agree.
Make sure we don't get sniped on that.
Yeah.
And so this would be one of those spots where I would almost wonder, like, oh, do we try to maybe build in a secondary 2-man Boston stack and grab a Bob Williams and set that up for later and see if we could push Mobley? That's the only thing that crosses my mind.
That's fun. I just don't think that Mobley comes back is my thinking. Because, well, we do have some guys skipping up bigs, but I think Chipsy would definitely like.
Well, it's
love to do that to us.
It's a really easy double tap to just go Garland and Mobley at the corner there.
Yeah. Chipsy wasn't going to let us have any of our plans that we would lay out very nicely.
We have to wait about 20 seconds as he's probably on the clock in 4 of his 5 drafts. So
he's multi-tabling right now.
We talked about it off the top, but like it really cannot be overstated how like fluid these playoff seedings are. Literally, like by each seeding from 4 through 10, like every team is separated by 1 game. It is it is madness. Yeah. What can like take shape here? I think ADP is just like it's just a house of cards right now. And as soon as we get a shift in potential seedings, it's going to be crazy.
Just wait till all of a sudden the Utah Jazz are firmly in a playoffs. Yeah, wait till the Utah Jazz are firmly in a playoff spot, and all of a sudden people are like, and then it's just. You see Lauri Markkanen.
Did you get 10th round Walker Kessler or not? Like, okay,
well, at this point, I mean,
then you're toast.
Right now, you could get 10th round Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah. Well, here's a gross one too. Pelicans are in 10th right now, right? Zion supposedly is coming back next week. Like
supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if Zion's there for the play-in game, they could absolutely win 2 games in a row, and then all of a sudden you get Zion with like the last pick of the draft.
I try and do the hypothetical seeding and being like, okay, which 2 teams actually get the short end of it? And it's like, okay, yeah, Oklahoma City, Utah. But like at the end of we could be sitting here and it could be at behind the 10th, the Dallas Mavericks and the Lakers. And we're just like, look at this gaping hole that just left all of these lineups, just sunk them. And it's because these 2 teams that are being drafted over and over, and I guess the Lakers at the back end, but it's absolutely crazy.
Guy Bob Will.
So Bob Will, or do you play the Draymond angle?
I think I'd take Jared Allen.
Yeah,
he's
Jared Allen.
He would come back. Draymond, I don't know.
I think we're fine in the West, and okay. You could take both.
I do think both is fine. And
I was thinking of like a Galbrain team with star power in the East to like add. And I was thinking the Raptors. Yeah. You take like Siakam and Fleet in like the 9th and 10th.
Oh, okay. And then using, all right.
I mean, yeah, we have options here.
Yeah.
This guy, what does Biff know? He's got the almanac.
Like, we could see the Pacers in the play-in tournament. Like, and not that they'll do anything, but like it's just seeing like I'm looking at the Bulls.
But there'll be a fun pace up spot for somebody. I think Jared Allen makes the most sense, I guess.
I do like Jared Allen.
Yeah.
It was interesting here with Biff because Biff had Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, but has built out like a Boston and Milwaukee heavy build, and then I guess didn't want to tack on like a Bob Williams. But I mean, I'm looking at this team that's a 4-3-1 with only Jaren Jackson, and to pass on Bob Williams in a Celtics build. Am I missing something? That feels weird.
Well, he has Ant, so I'm thinking he's going to go probably add on. He's going to try and do a Cat and Gobert type deal, which it would be Cat most likely, which let's just take a second and think of this. Probably what 15% of this tournament of the 18 had Cat in the 10th round, and you could probably still get him there. Like,
Yeah.
whew, you want a guy that can put it up with any spike week of all. Like, and we were talking about LeBron James and Davis. Like, Cat can go out there and ball for 60, 70 if he really wanted to, and like he's going in the 10th. So that's or at 10th, 9th. That's crazy. So
and imagine like the Timberwolves somehow get the 6th seed, and then you get a full series against the Kings with Ant-Man and Karl.
I haven't been trying to think about that because that would make me too excited. I haven't been trying to think about that, but it's been in my mind.
Yeah, it's definitely in play.
Yeah, it's
J-Dub at 50. You love to see it. So on brand.
Wow.
So on
that's
brand.
what I was gonna say. Over Giddy, give me J-Dub.
Yeah,
that's just for the brand. That's just
secret sauce.
There's your rookie of the year right there.
He's awesome.
What do you guys
think?
think?
Good for? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just not to like go back on the. If a lot of people think the Celtics and the Bucks are two of the best overall teams. Like, what do you think about going heavy on those two teams, knowing you're obviously going to lose at least one of them before the finals? Like, is that because naturally I think people shy away from that, but if you could get them in the Eastern Conference Finals, is there paths where that could work out?
That would be fun.
The way they're lined up, it's basically you're just hoping you won't play any of the 2 or 3 seeds. So like if the Bucks get that 1 seed, which they're kind of looking like that, at least they're locked in right now. Oh, sorry, we're on the clock.
Sorry, I just realized we're on the clock. What are we thinking here?
Let's pay tribute to John and go with Brooklyn.
Let's get some Bridges.
Yeah,
Yes,
get Bridges.
Oh God, they're gone.
Gone?
Claxton Dinwiddie.
Dinwiddie.
Oh no,
that works
Siakam.
My nimble fingers failed me. I did want Bob Williams like 5 rounds ago. So
yeah,
there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so
and Numi told me the 4 big builds is fine.
Is Grant Williams still there? Do you want to pair something with him, or do you want to just eat a? I mean, you could go Grant Williams as a wing now, and you go 3-3-4.
I would rather go Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. If Brogdon's still there. There he is. Yeah,
of course.
There you go. Yo, Biff.
Oh no.
Grant Williams looking for that contract.
We went Gobert over Cat. Wow. If the Cat already went, maybe that's probably it.
Yeah, that's crazy. So is Grant the best way to round this out?
I think
probably
at this
Get
point.
another wing. Yeah.
Sadly, it's the best way to round it out.
Cassius LeVert.
I think it sets you up. It's definitely the
Harris. What is his name?
Harris.
Yeah.
I thought
Harris? I have no idea how to say his name.
You were doing a bit.
I thought there was a bit too.
On his name in dailies, man. I auto draft after.
It's Harris LeVert. Yeah.
Oh my God,
man.
John.
But to that point, like I mean, once we start getting the seedings, like if you're looking at the 3 highest seeds in the East, 3 highest odds for the finals, I believe, just in general, according to whatever site you want to use. Like if you do Milwaukee, you can build out with a Sixer or Boston because the only chance they have to meeting is that Eastern Conference Finals. So like once this is set in stone, you obviously have the people in the nitty gritty, and that's when you'll want to start making sure the matchups. Like obviously right now with how just insanely the moving parts, it's impossible to do that, but that's definitely viable and definitely something to do. Like same thing you could do with Denver and Memphis type thing and do that with a 3 seed. But
wow,
hey, guys, sorry, I gotta bounce. There's some at my door and no one's home. So all right, good talk with you guys.
We're getting absolutely roasted for this Grant Williams pick
rightfully
here.
So.
Yeah, he's been getting DMPCD'd quite a bit lately. So
they're saving him. They're saving him for the playoffs.
That's what I've been thinking too. Or they're just waiting. They're like, "Nah, we feel better with Mike Muscala and the boys." But you know what I mean? Like,
it's so bad.
The skeleton of Blake Griffin trying to roll out in a playoff series.
I will say this team is live for 4 different finals matchups, which is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
So for the audio listeners, of course, our guards: Stephen Curry, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell; wings: Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson; the aforementioned Grant Williams; bigs: Evan Mobley, Draymond Green, Jarrett Allen, and the Time Lord Robert Williams. Not bad.
I will say Grant Williams is the guy when we were talking earlier about 4-man stacks. That was the moment when I was like, I'm not forcing 4-man stacks anymore. Where I had 3 Celtics and I was like, why am I taking fucking Grant Williams over Anthony Edwards right now?
Yeah.
He got so hot the other night against Utah. He buried my ass.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where you get into team specific, because like you want 4-mans. Like if I start going down there, like you get slim when you get to the Knicks.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? You get real slim when you get to the Heat. Like I'm not a big guy about even adding on Tyler Hero. We had a big debate about that before with the Tyler Hero, Trae Young type thing. And they were all like, no, let's add on Tyler Hero. I'm like, in a team that, and like there's a guy that had basically I'm pretty sure he had like Jokic and Luka on the same team and someone else. I'm like, we need points to compete with this. Tyler Hero's not getting the job done. A Trae Young would get the job done. So yeah, like it's really tough. It really matters, like the 4 ancillaries. Like, and I think the way I'm building out a 4-man would be, like I said, get a Jokic, Jamal, and then try and push Gordon and Porter Jr. and get those guys at value if possible. Otherwise,
I've been like clicking Bruce Brown a lot too for my fourth. Yeah, my fourth nugget. Just like I think they're going to play 6 guys in the playoffs, and he's the 6th one, so I don't mind him.
Yeah, and it's basically who can do anything when Jokic is stealing the show. You know what I mean? Who's getting the sloppy seconds, and it's interesting. I don't think people talk into the fact that Denver's basically also the fraudulent built into them is when they have to go on the road and how much of a home court advantage they actually have playing at altitude. When people have to come play them at altitude and then they leave, and you can see that's always built into their splits. It's not like a rare thing for Denver teams or for like basketball when you look at their splits and their home away. So it's going to be interesting to see just that whole thing.
All right, here we are back to the Jaylen Brown spot. From the 6th hole here.
Let's try something funky with the East here and go Jaylen Brown and James Harden and treat the East as one-offs and build out like West 2-mans, because I was thinking about that last team there, and starting with 2 West one-offs feels pretty bad because all the fun late 2 stacks that you want, the dart throws, are in the West, right? So like starting this kind of do the same thesis, but now I think we have more maneuverability, I think.
That makes sense.
I like that.
Yeah, it does seem, I'm trying to, it is a lot easier to backstack the West.
Yeah. With it, which it's just, I think it's the built-in uncertainty that's just keeping their prices suppressed. That it's just, these are the builds that just seem the best to do right now. They just seem so clear cut, and then once we get news, that's when you can kind of start playing the rooms more and line that up. But right now, it's like, and you're also getting a guy from the Celtics and a guy from the 2 and the 3 respective like finals odds. So that's a boost too, just in general on that team.
I feel like I haven't seen Jokic being taken 1st overall in a while.
Yeah, that is new. Because he had that AD flippening, about like a week and a half ago with Giannis?
I think a lot of it is people realizing the scarcity at wing. Because when this contest first dropped, before they took it off and re-dropped it, there was no bigs. And it was like push up Embiid, push up Joker. And now all of a sudden, like everybody's seeing that like, oh, the deficiency now, especially after losing Paul George, is wing. Okay, we need to take Giannis, right?
Yep.
So, John, when you were saying building out West 2-man stacks, I mean, I assume that's at least getting to 2 Philly, 2 Boston. But what do you do in this spot here where none of them are in our range?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a zig now. But
go Phoenix.
The Phoenix is staring us in the face. I typed in the private chat 1 2-man West to add later, but I think Phoenix makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, this is
kind
of
see differently.
No, it's sitting right there for us. Just the way that, especially going off of your private chat, just kind of makes sense.
I was hoping Sabonis was going to fall long enough that you could just go Sabonis Fox right there. Would have been nice.
Yeah. See, as much as I think they're not live to get out of the first round. Now they're definitely live to score a lot of points. So I'm definitely in on the Kings. Like I'm in on the Kings to get as the minis and the one-offs, and like Fox and Sabonis give me there. But But yeah,
I liked it more like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, they weren't like no one was drafting either of those guys. And I was like, man, even if they're one and done, they're gonna get you through the first round because it's all of their usage.
Speaking of that, I'm looking back at one right now where I have Fox at 44 and Sabonis at 31. Yeah. So it's just like such a stark change in the market already, right?
Yeah. What do you, I mean, obviously NFL is just such a bigger market for people wanting to draft playoff best ball, but do you think the uncertainty for this specific NBA playoffs is causing people not to rush in and draft as many of these? Like if it was one of those more classically settled years, I guess I don't know. As someone who's gotten addicted, I'm just surprised more people aren't in here blasting off on these.
I think that's part of it. I also think that the hoops crowd is drafting every single day, all day long for the dailies that then they're kind of like, when do I find the time to do this? Opposed to like during football season, you got a week, you might be drafting some dailies, but I mean, over the course of a week, you can mix in a couple of the playoff ones too, right?
Right.
Oh man, we lost AD on that one.
Fuck
we did, Chipsy. What do you guys think here?
I think one off LeBron. And kind of stick with that. And then I don't know if you benefit greatly by pairing Maxey with Harden because, I mean, I guess you still do. We could do that. We could, yeah.
I don't know.
Or do you grab Time Lord to go with Jaylen Brown? I guess it's, are you building out that stack or grabbing another one-off or potential two-man from the West?
I just think you could probably get Time Lord the next time around based on what we saw last draft.
Yeah, Maxey or Harris because Harris fills a wing spot too.
But we're okay at wing, would you say?
Probably.
Do you guys have?
I was just thinking of late guards that'll.
Yeah, this is tough.
All right. So we took Maxey. So we got Harden, Chris Paul, and Maxey at guard, Jaylen Brown, LeBron at wing and big. We got Ayton.
It really, I mean, this isn't a hot take. This draft is so much harder if you don't get 1 through 4. Like it's, like 1 through 4 is very easy for me to construct lineups. I feel, and normally in like most formats, I like having 1-6 and just 6-7, like having that turn. I hate it in this draft, and maybe ADP shakes out and it becomes a little bit easier, but it's just hard from the 6 hole.
Yeah, you really got a gal brain from either side of the board.
Yeah.
Or from the back side of the board.
At least we didn't let Chipsy get Davis and LeBron. That's kind of how we won.
That's a big win for us.
Yeah, we could just go full heel now. Just start sniping. Just look at other people's rosters.
We could do something funky like 3 backdoor Pelicans or 3 backdoor
Zion
T-Wolves.
Yeah, I was gonna say is Ant and Cat still there? You could just double tap that if you wanted to do that.
And that gets us another big too.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like we're turned off for West at East.
Yeah, you wouldn't mix in a third one there, Numi?
Cap. So what we don't have
a full finals lineup yet.
Yeah, we got 5 from the West, but not a full finals.
Yeah. So we either need one more Philly, one more Boston. Is there anyone worth drafting after the big 4 on the Suns?
You can say a Kogi if you want to. Yeah, if you want to.
He's the Grant Williams of the Suns.
We gave the campaign.
He's better.
He's Grant Williams, but he at least is. The scoring fits his play style, but he's also just got to get the minutes and be highly efficient out there while providing stocks. Like campaign, sure, like he can definitely give you something, but I'm just trying to think in length of a series. I don't think his limited minutes, he'd have to legitimately ball out or go down for an injury. So yeah, after those 4, man, those are the 2 in my mind. Like, sure, Torrey Craig. Like, we're literally just getting the guys that are like, hey, it's a 3-game NBA slate. Like, look at the 6th round options. You need to draft these. These are the names that I'm throwing out there right now. So
Those are guys I still don't like playing when the Suns are shorthanded. It's like Torrey Craig's gonna play 40 minutes tonight. I'm like, oh, it's fucking Torrey Craig.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like this is gonna be a fun night. Can't wait to watch all my money go
Yeah.
away. Like,
I actually had this question too. What does stock stand for?
it blocks and steals.
Ah, see, this is gonna make it to my parody video.
That absolutely.
Yeah, so like they use FanDuel scoring, which is it rewards blocks and steals more, and gives you just that. So like it's guys that can excel in ways that you don't really need to score. Like a Jalen Green for the Rockets, he needs to put the ball in the hoop, otherwise he's not giving you a good fantasy score. OG Anunoby, he had like 5 points and like 4 boards and an assist, but he had like 4 blocks and a steal at halftime. That's 15 points right there. So it's just guys that can do that, like a Jaren Jackson type. He can hoop it, and he can just put up 5 blocks. Like
I feel like Jaren is such at a discount right now. Sorry, we're on the clock.
Yeah.
All right, what are we doing here, guys?
Mike Conley, let's get the Wolves to the finals.
I was just gonna say, there you go. Yeah, why not? Hey, we believe, baby. Start the video.
Did Gobert already go?
I guess we could do Gobert.
Yeah, let's do Gobert, and then SGA pushes him through.
Okay, well, you know what? Not everyone here has a big brain like you, John. We like that. We like that. Smart.
So we won't have a full finals lineup, correct? Or no, the Wolves.
We will with
if T Wolves.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Wolves.
All right.
But
So we won't. So we won't.
So,
but what we're saying here most likely is the teams that are going to be in the way of the T-Wolves, like you're basically it's the Suns and that LeBron James. So even those like other teams, most likely they're going to meet in the series. We're kind of betting on that being like a long series. T-Wolves get out of that, and then it's just kind of like easy riding from there. That's like the hope. Otherwise, yeah, the way you're looking at it, at least that's the way I'm looking at it now, is they wouldn't play until the finals, is what I meant. The Western Conference Finals is what I meant to say.
question for you guys. Oh, no, go ahead, John.
The other one we could have added would be Melton, but I don't think the team's as good. I think it's lower probability that the Wolves get to the finals, but I think our team is equally unique if we add Melton to a 3-man Philly, or if we added Gobert and just push T-Wolves through. I think SGA was a good pick regardless. There's your Austin Reeves pick.
We were talking about the like closing line value stuff, and we were mentioning how the Lakers could really jump up. Who like after pick 40, like some of these guys that we're talking about, the SGAs, the who else is coming to mind up here? Like Trae Young. Like who do you think could make the biggest leap if or when their team gets confirmed for the playoffs? Like who are the guys, the stocks, not those kind of stocks, the other kind of stocks you want to be buying now before they really could jump up?
Anthony Davis, SGA is probably the big, like a big one. Cat, it's these star players. Like if I'm going, like if I'm thinking like SGA is at some point in a daily, he's normally sitting, if you're without the star, he'd be around like 6-7 with like the Luka, the Giannis, all these guys on the slate. Like he can put up an absolute number and consistently do it. Like if you're doing a 1-for-1, I'd rather have him over Trae. So like if like that's what I see. If the Thunder can sneak into that, like he has truly the highest upside out of really anyone that's truly being undrafted. I don't know if you guys see differently besides potentially Cat.
I like the Raptors.
Davis to that.
The Raptors, every single daily contest you play in the first 3 rounds, you get Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and one of the other, either Scotty Barnes or Pirtle in there. They play a really condensed rotation, and they have 6 guys that play 30 minutes basically every single night that you can get exposure to. And they're sitting right now in like the 6th seed. If they don't play a play-in game, like I can't believe the Raptors aren't going drafted right now. And then that adding of Jakob to play now, they have a big that can play against Giannis. I don't think they can beat Giannis, but at least they have a big that can play against them, right?
Yeah. I just pulled up the tank for the strength of schedule the rest of the way out. OKC here with 9 games left, and they do have like Grizzlies, Suns, and Warriors, but Pistons, Hornets, Blazers, who basically waved the white flag today, Pacers, Jazz. I like that they considered Lakers as an easy matchup, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But when you're looking these bottom 4 teams here, Minnesota, Lakers, Dallas, OKC, the easiest strength of schedule the rest of the way out, which is kind of funny because all of them are vying for that same 2 spot. But I wanted to point out like the Clippers, who now without Paul George the rest of the way, 2 against the Grizz, 1 against the Suns, and then a couple of easy ones here in the Lakers as well. But Golden State too. I feel like there's still just so much movement we could see. Both OKC and Dallas, I mean, and the Lakers. I mean, I feel like we're gonna get at least 2. Well, obviously we're gonna get a little.
Mike, can you do the same for? I want to see the rest of the Raptors because I thought they could get up and through.
I mean,
that's get out of that play-in game.
That is the legit West play-in tournament right there with the easiest schedule left, minus the Pelicans, and swap in the Thunder. Like that is the West play-in tournament with the easiest schedule remaining.
So Philly's schedule is brutal this rest of the way here, but yeah. So Cleveland has the easiest, and then Brooklyn the next easiest. But I think Brooklyn's toast. But Toronto needs to catch Atlanta, right? And Atlanta has the second hardest schedule left.
Yeah.
I guess they need to catch them to get to the 8 seed, right? So they'd only have to win 1 playing game instead of 2.
And not to go
the second hardest,
as I like to do, but like just the Thunder second in pace, Raptors 26th in pace. So just fantasy friendly environments.
That's
like
true.
You get the perk for me with SGA, but that's definitely a good shout of guys that can put up a number in the playoffs at any given point with the Raptors. Like Pascal's kind of been turning to form, so you can definitely throw him in there. For like a month and a half, it looked like he didn't know how to play basketball with so but yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys joining me today. I'm excited to draft a bunch more of these. The Badge Bros, you guys, of course, are streaming daily. You're doing the baseball content over on the new channel for Underdog Fantasy. I'll be sure to link that. We got Mike holding down the fort over at Team Hold. And congratulations, Mike. You guys just wrapped up your funding for the launch where people were able to invest in Team Hold. What did you guys land on? 27K?
Yeah, 27K, and like true NFT form, I'm looking forward to mental health crisis in a couple of months, and I'm gonna shut it down and keep it for myself. But
wow,
no, yeah,
drug pull. Wow, we love it.
We're pumped.
Yeah, no, congratulations, and come join us in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, the Badge Bros channels. Like I said, if you enjoyed this format, I highly recommend hopping it in. I'm completely honest, I don't play in a lot of the dailies for the NBA, although I am known to autopilot a few and elicit some eye rolls from the regs. However, I am deep in these NBA playoff basketball streets, enjoying it, and we'll chop it up with you guys in the Discord. So thank you guys for hanging out. Couple plugs. I'm going right now to do Splash Play with Spags. We had to delay our show because my internet wasn't working earlier. We're going to do that. And then tonight I'm doing a stream just for YouTube members. Everyone knows Chess Liam, a man who has a very generous interpretation of what a dynasty is. We are going to have some cocktails, draft some teams tonight for all of you guys that are YouTube members. So that is it for me. Lots more streams on tap today. For Mike, for John, Numi, the Badge Bros. Thank you to John Boy as well for swinging by. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.